The emergency signal came from the edge of known space, weak and full of static. It took 3 days for the computers at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station to decode the alien language. What they found made Captain Mike Torres call his superiors immediately. The message was simple, but terrifying. An entire civilization was dying. The Corallian Republic had been peaceful for over 1,000 years. They were plant eaters, builders, artists, and scientists. They had never hurt anyone. Their worlds were filled with beautiful cities, vast libraries, and gardens that stretched beyond the horizon. Children played in crystal parks while their parents worked on curing diseases and exploring the mysteries of the universe. But peace meant nothing to the Vorthan Empire. The Vorthans were everything. The Corallians were not. They were hunters, killers, destroyers. They swept across the galaxy like a plague, taking whatever they wanted and burning the rest. They did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They simply conquered and consumed. In just 3 months, the Vorthons had destroyed half of the Corallian worlds. Billions were dead. The survivors huddled in underground shelters or fled in whatever ships they could find. Their military, designed for exploration and rescue missions, was completely useless against the Vorthan war machine. The Corallian government had sent the same distress call to every known civilization in the galaxy. They begged for help, offered to share their technology, promised anything in return for military aid. Most species ignored the message completely. Others sent polite refusals, explaining they could not risk their own people against such a powerful enemy. When the signal reached Earth, it caused immediate chaos in the government. Captain Torres sat in the emergency meeting room, watching the alien footage on the big screen. The videos showed Vorthan ships burning Corallian cities from orbit, families running through streets as buildings collapsed around them, children crying for parents who would never come home. "This is not our fight," said General Robert Hayes, the head of military planning. "We have never even met these aliens. Why should we risk human lives for strangers?" Admiral Jake Morrison stood up so fast his chair fell backward. His face was red with anger. "Because it is the right thing to do. Look at those videos. This is not war. This is murder." "The Admiral is correct," said Commander Lisa Webb, pulling up more data on her tablet. "Our intelligence shows the Vorthan are not just conquering these worlds. They are wiping out entire populations. This is genocide on a scale we have never seen." The room fell silent as everyone watched more footage. A Vorthan soldier shooting an unarmed Corallian doctor. A school being bombed while children tried to escape. Mass graves filled with thousands of bodies. "How long until they finish?" asked President Collins. 2 weeks, maybe 3, Webb replied. "After that, the Corallian Republic will cease to exist. Every last one of them will be dead." The debate went on for hours. Some officials worried about the cost. Others feared making new enemies. A few questioned whether humans could even make a difference against such a powerful force. But Admiral Morrison kept bringing them back to the videos. "What if this was Earth?" he asked. "What if our families were running from those monsters? Wouldn't we want someone to help us?" Finally, President Collins called for a vote. The decision had to be unanimous, or they would not act at all. One by one, every person in the room voted yes, within 6 hours. Every human military base on Earth, and in the colonies, received the same order. Prepare for the largest fleet mobilization in human history. They would take every available ship, every trained soldier, every weapon they had. The Vorthans thought they were fighting helpless plant eaters. They had no idea that the Corallian distress call had just awakened humanity's sleeping dragon. The stars themselves seemed to bend as 847 human warships tore through the fabric of space. The massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Corallian territory. Their arrival creating brilliant flashes of light that could be seen from 3 star systems away. At the front of this incredible armada was the Iron Will, a dreadnought so large it casts shadows on nearby moons. The ship was a floating fortress, covered in weapons that the peaceful Caroleans had never even dreamed of. Railguns that could punch through mountains, missile pods that held enough firepower to level entire cities, shield generators that could withstand the heat of a star. The Carolean survivors could hardly believe what they were seeing through their viewport screens. For months, they had sent desperate messages into the void, begging anyone in the galaxy to help them. Most civilizations had ignored their calls completely. Others had sent back polite messages saying they were sorry but could not risk their own people. But these humans had not just answered. They had brought a fleet larger than anything the Caroleans had ever built. Even in their golden age of peace and prosperity, Commander Elena Rodriguez was the first human to step aboard the Carolean flagship. She was tall and strong, with scars on her hands from years of combat training. But when she met the Carolean leaders, her voice was gentle and respectful. "We received your message," she said through the translation device. "We came as fast as we could." The Carolean president, an elderly being with soft green fur and large, kind eyes, began to cry. "You actually came. After all this time, someone actually came to help us." "Tell us everything," said Admiral Jake Morrison as he entered the meeting room. He was a man who had spent his entire life preparing for war, but seeing the broken alien refugees around him made his heart ache with anger. The Caroleans showed them video after video of Vorthan attacks. Cities burning from orbital bombardment, families separated as they fled for their lives, children who would never see their parents again, medical centers destroyed while doctors tried to save the wounded. Admiral Morrison watched it all in complete silence. His jaw muscles grew tighter with each new horror. His hands slowly formed into fists. Captain Mike Torres, who had served with the Admiral for 15 years, had never seen his commander look so angry. "How many ships do the Vorthans have in this sector?" Morrison asked, his voice now cold as the space between stars. The Carolean military advisor pulled up a holographic display showing enemy positions. Red dots filled the screen, representing hundreds of Vorthan warships spread across dozens of star systems. Captain Torres counted quickly in his head. "Sir, they outnumber us 3-1, maybe more." For the first time since arriving, Admiral Morrison smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just found his prey. "Perfect," he said quietly. "That means we won't have to chase them all over the galaxy. They are all right here, waiting for us." The Caroleans looked at each other in confusion. These humans seemed almost happy about being outnumbered. In all their years of peaceful civilization, they had never encountered beings like this. "You do not understand," said the Carolean president. "The Vorthans are the most feared warriors in the galaxy. They have conquered dozens of species. Their ships are designed only for destruction." Admiral Morrison stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at his massive fleet. "They have never fought humans before. They pick on peaceful species who cannot fight back. They are bullies, and there is nothing humans hate more than bullies." Commander Rodriguez nodded agreement. "Admiral, the fleet is ready for battle. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier is prepared to show these Vorthans what happens when they threaten innocent people." The Caroleans finally understood. These humans possessed something their peaceful species had never developed. It was not just advanced technology or superior numbers. It was something much more dangerous. They had controlled fury, righteous anger, and an unshakable determination to protect those who could not protect themselves. The Vorthians had made the worst mistake of their brutal history. They had given humanity a reason to go to war. The Nexus system had been peaceful for over 200 years. It was a beautiful place, with 7 planets, each one home to millions of Carolean families. Children went to school on crystal platforms floating above purple oceans. Artists created sculptures from living light that danced between the moons. Scientists worked in laboratories built inside hollow asteroids, studying the secrets of the universe. But when the human fleet arrived, they found something very different. The Vorthan war machine had turned this paradise into a battlefield. Their black ships hung in space like hungry predators, surrounding the remaining Corallian vessels. Smoke rose from burning cities on the planets below. The beautiful crystal platforms were now twisted wreckage floating in space. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Iron Will, studying the tactical display. The Vorthans had arranged their fleet in a classic hunting formation. They expected the humans to either run away in fear or surrender without a fight, just like every other species they had encountered. "Sir, we count over 400 Vorthan ships," reported Captain Mike Torres. "They have us completely surrounded." "Good," Morrison replied calmly. "Now they cannot escape." The Vorthan commander sent a message to the human fleet. His voice was filled with arrogance and cruelty. "Unknown species, you have 10 minutes to surrender your ships and prepare to be processed. Resistance will result in immediate destruction." Admiral Morrison opened a channel to every human ship in the fleet. "All units, this is Morrison. You have seen what these monsters do to innocent people. Today, we show them that their reign of terror ends here. Make them pay for every life they have taken." The battle began with a thunderous roar as thousands of weapons fired at once. The Vorthans attacked first, confident that their superior numbers would crush these newcomers quickly. Their plasma cannons could melt through the hulls of most ships in seconds. Their missiles could track targets across entire star systems. But the humans were ready for them. Colonel Dave Parker led the first wave of human fighters in his ship, the Lightning Strike. He had been flying in combat for 20 years, but he had never felt anger like this before. The videos of Vorthan atrocities burned in his memory as he dove straight into enemy fire. "All fighters, follow my lead," he shouted into his radio. "These cowards only know how to attack defenseless people. Let's teach them what real warriors look like." The human fighters moved like deadly dancers through space, dodging Vorthan fire with impossible precision. Parker led his squadron directly into the heart of the enemy formation, his ship spinning and weaving between massive Vorthan battleships. His weapons fired constantly, cutting through enemy hulls like hot knives through butter. Meanwhile, Captain Amy Stone commanded the destroyer, relentless in a move that shocked everyone watching. Instead of firing from a distance like normal warships, she aimed her vessel directly at a Vorthan cruiser and pushed her engines to maximum power. "Brace for impact," she yelled to her crew as the Relentless slammed into the enemy ship like a massive battering ram. The collision tore a huge hole in the Vorthan cruiser's side. Before the enemy could recover, Captain Stone opened the airlocks, and her Marines poured through the breach. These human soldiers moved through the alien corridors with deadly efficiency, their weapons chattering as they cleared room after room of surprised Vorthan warriors. The Vorthans had never encountered anything like this. Most species they fought tried to keep their distance and fire from safety, but humans seemed to prefer fighting up close, where they could look their enemies in the eye. Admiral Morrison coordinated the entire battle from his command center, his voice calm and cold as ice. "All heavy cruisers, target their command ships. Destroyers, hit their weapons platforms. Fighters, keep their smaller ships busy." "Sir, the Vorthans are trying to retreat," reported Torres. "Do not let them," Morrison ordered. "Every ship that escapes will go on to murder more innocent people. We end this here and now." The tide of battle turned quickly. Vorthan ships that had seemed invincible began exploding under human fire. Their formations broke apart as panic spread through their ranks. For the first time in their brutal history, the Vorthans found themselves outmatched and outfought. By the end of the day, the predators had become the prey, and humanity had proven they had much bigger teeth. The victory celebration on the Corallian flagship lasted exactly 10 minutes. While the alien survivors wept with joy and relief, Admiral Jake Morrison was already studying star charts of Vorthan territory. His officers expected him to order the fleet home, their mission complete. Instead, he gave an order that changed galactic history forever. All ships, prepare for deep space pursuit. We are going after the survivors. Captain Mike Torres looked up from his navigation console, confused. Sir, the Corallians are safe now. The immediate threat is over. Command expects us to return to Earth. Morrison's eyes never left the tactical display showing retreating Vorthan ships. Those monsters are regrouping at their forward bases. In 6 months, they will be back with reinforcements. But this time, they will be angry. They will make the Corallians pay for calling in help. What are you suggesting, Admiral? Asked Commander Lisa Webb. I am suggesting we follow them home and finish what they started. The bridge fell silent. What Morrison was proposing had never been done before in galactic history. No species had ever pursued the Vorthans into their own territory. It was considered military suicide. Sir, Torres said carefully, we would be going into completely unknown space. No star charts, no supply lines, no backup. If something goes wrong, we would be trapped thousands of light years from home. Morrison finally turned away from the display. His face was hard as stone. Captain, I have spent the last 3 days watching videos of what these creatures do to innocent people. Children burned alive in their schools. Hospitals bombed while doctors tried to save patients. Entire cities turned to glass by orbital bombardment. He walked to the viewport, looking out at the wreckage of Vorthon ships floating in space. These are not warriors. They are murderers who only pick on those who cannot fight back. If we let them escape now, they will go find another peaceful species to destroy. The decision split the human command. Some officers argued they had done enough, that their duty was to protect Earth, not police the galaxy. Others supported Morrison's plan, saying humanity had a responsibility to stop evil wherever they found it. In the end, Morrison put it to a vote among all ship captains. The result was overwhelming. 623 ships voted to continue the hunt. 224 voted to return home, and so began the most terrifying chase in galactic history. The human fleet entered Vorthan space like ghosts in the night. They moved from system to system, striking without warning and disappearing before enemy reinforcements could arrive. Morrison had divided his forces into small hunter groups that could move quickly and hit hard. Captain Amy Stone led her destroyer. Group 2, the Tolar system, where intelligence reports suggested a major Vorthan base. What her Marines found there made even hardened soldiers sick to their stomachs. Massed graves containing thousands of alien bodies. Prison camps where civilians had been worked to death. Testing facilities where Vorthan scientists had conducted horrible experiments on living prisoners. Document everything, Stone ordered her troops, her voice shaking with rage. The galaxy needs to see what these monsters really are. Meanwhile, Colonel Dave Parker's fighter squadron discovered something even worse on the planet, Zarian Prime. The Vorthans had not just conquered this world, they had used it for target practice. 6 different cities showed signs of orbital bombardment, but not from military necessity. The Vorthans had simply wanted to test their new weapons on living targets. Each new discovery fueled the humans. Righteous anger. They began taking fewer prisoners. They showed no mercy to Vorthon commanders, who begged for their lives. Word spread quickly through the enemy empire. The humans were not here to negotiate or make peace. They had come to deliver justice. The galaxy watched in stunned amazement as reports came in from across Vorthan space. These unknown humans, who had appeared from nowhere just months before, were systematically destroying an empire that had terrorized civilized worlds for centuries. Other species began sending secret messages of support. Some offered intelligence about Vorthan movements. Others provided supply bases for the human fleet. For the first time in generations, The galaxy had hoped that the nightmare might finally end, but the Vorthons were beginning to understand they had made the greatest mistake in their species' brutal history. They had given humanity a reason to unleash hell itself upon their empire. The Vorthon homeworld had never been attacked in over 3,000 years. It was a massive planet, covered in dark cities and military factories, protected by orbital defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets. For generations, this world had been the heart of an empire built on fear and death. But now, human warships surrounded it completely. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Iron Will, looking down at the planet that had spawned so much evil. Around him, his officers prepared for the final battle of their long campaign. They had chased the Vorthons across half the galaxy, liberating world after world, documenting atrocity after atrocity. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," reported Captain Mike Torres. "It is coming from the Imperial Palace." "Put it through," Morrison ordered. The face that appeared on the main screen was hideous by human standards. Emperor Vorthok had multiple eyes arranged around a mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. His skin was covered in dark scales, and his claws were permanently stained with the blood of his victims. But for the first time in his long, brutal reign, this monster looked afraid. "Unknown species," Vorthok began, his voice trying to sound reasonable and diplomatic. "There has been a terrible misunderstanding. The Vorthon Empire wishes to negotiate an end to this conflict." Morrison said nothing. He simply stared at the alien tyrant with cold, dead eyes. Vorthok continued desperately. "We offer tribute, our finest metals, our advanced technology, entire star systems, if you desire them. Name your price for peace, and we will pay it gladly." The Emperor's voice grew more panicked as Morrison remained silent. "We can give you slaves, weapons, anything you want. Surely reasonable beings can come to an arrangement." Finally, Admiral Morrison spoke. His voice was broadcast, not just to the Emperor, but to every communication channel in the star system. Every Vorthon ship, every military base, every civilian settlement heard his words. "For 300 years, your empire has spread across the galaxy like a disease," Morrison said. "You have murdered billions of innocent people. You have destroyed entire civilizations. You have turned paradise worlds into graveyards." The Admiral stepped closer to the screen, his anger barely controlled. "Did you show mercy to the children of Corellian Prime when you bombed their schools? Did you negotiate with the doctors on Tolar when you executed them for trying to save lives? Did you offer tribute to the families you separated and enslaved?" Emperor Vorthok tried to interrupt, but Morrison's voice cut through his protests like a blade. "You showed no mercy to those who could not defend themselves. You will receive exactly the same consideration." The transmission ended. Morrison turned to his fleet commanders. "All ships, begin final assault. Target military installations only. Any Vorthon who surrenders will be taken prisoner and tried for war crimes. Any who resist will be destroyed." The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Iron Will led the assault, its massive guns tearing through Vorthon defense platforms like paper. Captain Torres coordinated the orbital bombardment with surgical precision, making sure to hit only military targets while protecting civilian areas. Captain Amy Stone led her Marines in a direct assault on the Imperial Palace. Her soldiers moved through the massive structure room by room, capturing Vorthon leaders who had spent their lives giving orders to murder innocent people. Many tried to fight. Others begged for mercy. They had never shown their own victims. The battle lasted only 6 hours. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries crumbled like a house of cards when faced with humanity's righteous fury. Emperor Vorthok was found hiding in his private bunker, surrounded by the treasures he had stolen from conquered worlds. As human ships secured the planet, representatives from dozens of species arrived to witness the end of their greatest nightmare. They could hardly believe that the Vorthon Empire, which had seemed invincible for so long, now lay in ruins. The Corallian ambassador approached Admiral Morrison as the human fleet prepared to leave. The gentle alien's large eyes were filled with tears of gratitude and wonder. "Admiral," the ambassador said softly, "your species traveled across the galaxy to help complete strangers. You risked everything, lost many of your own people, spent years away from your families. Why? Why would you do all of this for people you had never met?" Morrison looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth and the families waiting for their return. Because someone had to stand up to evil. Because it was the right thing to do. And because that's what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. The ambassador nodded slowly. The galaxy will never forget what humanity did. Here, when the darkness comes again, we know who to call. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace and began their long journey home, their legend spread to every corner of the galaxy. The story of the day when aliens called for aid and the human fleet answered with fury.